The VIX is getting trendy to look at, but we can't even consider looking at that without looking at this first. The CBOE total put call ratio for options. And for those who are new looking at this, you can see this is a inverted KST short term here on the bottom window, and the S&P index itself on the top. So I have in the KST inversed that reflects what the S&P 500 is doing by showing peaks when the S&P 500 is showing valleys, and when there's peaks like that at very high levels, they're a solid green or solid red. We'll get to that in a minute. And that's a show of bullishness as the S&P takes off to the races and the inverted KST sinks down like this. And it was completely broken during that horrible volatility era in 2022. You can see when there's red vertical lines that there's a peak, so there should be bullishness, and there wasn't. The S&P sank like a rock here, so that was broken, and this whole era can be directly related to the zero-day options, meaning the zero-day options became very trendy. And actually, you got to give a large round of applause to retailers who actually devised this scheme, and then the institutionals jumped on that bandwagon and took it to the extreme. So they added to that horrible volatility that was already existing in 2022. Then in 2023, it started actually working pretty good again. You can see this peak here on the KST with the solid green line, S&P going up, inverted KST going down, and these dashed vertical lines are just from lower levels than the ones that are elevated over here, but it was working. And then just recently, probably the end of August, it became disconnected again, and I have really no idea what the zero-day options means. All I know is that this should reflect more calls than puts, as the KST is headed down here for bullishness, but the S&P is sinking like a rock, and that would warrant buying puts instead. So this is completely broken again and directly related to the VIX. So this KST should be, if you could just turn it around and straighten it out, it should be rivaling this peak over here for the KST. So I have no idea what the zero heads are doing, as I call them, zero-day options aficionados. I have no idea what they do. All I know is they've completely broken this reliable indicator and created more volatility in the S&P 500. And the CBOE recently, I think end of 2022 or beginning of 2023, sanctioned the zero-day options and actually created an index for it. So they're all in on that too, and adding to the volatility big time. So again, this should be way up here, and the VIX should be well elevated more than where it is now at 20. Everybody's screaming about it being over 20. It should be probably like 50 or 60. And here's the CBOE volatility index, the VIX, on a daily chart. And I have downtrend lines and uptrend lines. The uptrend line here started back at the end of 2019, and you can see how I extended that out here. There's several hits in the red and the gold one separated here, and the blue one was created here on November 4th, and one hit here. But you can see it acted as really good resistance here in this area through 2023. And now we're bumping up against that again. Then the downtrend lines, one of them is anchored at this part of the COVID crash coming out of it. You can put a piece of tape over this peak here, as that was 10 bridges too far. So more realistically, waited for it to settle down and start having some price action, and that started right here around April 20, 2020, and that's around the time when Powell and Company started the latest round of quantitative easing. What is it, QE4? And then you can see things are really settled down as the free money era kicked in big time. So the red is anchored here. You can see some of these anchors here. So it's coming to an apex here. It's almost like a complex symmetrical triangle. So let's zoom into this area now. So I'm saying because the CBOE total put call ratio chart with the KST inverted is broken, that the VIX should be at least up here, or maybe even rivaling here. And if you draw a line over there, that would coincide with this purple line over here today. But as it stands, we're just trying to get to this blue line here. So that is at, for today on the 23rd, 22.27. So it's getting pretty close to that, but has not hit it yet. So now we have to wait to see if that will actually puncture that line and go into this somewhat of a no man's land, and then make a mad dash up to some of these downtrend lines up here. So something to watch, but everybody's all excited about it being over 20, and I'm saying it should be near 50, or at least up here at 35. And as an afterthought, I believe we could tie the whole thing together with the ROC 1, ATR 2, and PPO Extreme, especially the ROC 1 and the ATR 2. You can see in August the negative volatility started kicking in, then it was up to positive volatility, back to negative volatility. So the volatility regime starting in August, when the put call ratio chart stopped working and became broken, really reflects the volatility here in the ROC 1 and ATR 2